So, have you been in other performances before?
Yes, I've been in quite a couple of performances here, mostly here because I do dance classes here, so I've been in quite a lot of shows.
I've done quite a lot of dance shows because I do dance in Plumstead at Dorothy Marshall Dance School, and I mainly do ballet, tap and contemporary, and in the shows we do a lot of dancing, mainly ballet, so I've done quite a few shows, but they're all dance.
So, can you describe men and girls dance? How did you learn about it? Why did you want to be in it?
I wanted to be in it for two reasons. Because one, because I think that it's very powerful and it's very interesting, and you can say so much by just doing it. And the second reason is that my sister had been in it before, in a previous Men and Girls dance show. And when I watched it, it looked so fun and it was so joyful. I just wanted to be in it as well.
I wanted to do it because I love dance and contemporary. And I watched videos of Men and Girls dance online that looked really fun. Usually I only do dance with girls because there aren't lots of boys in our dance school, and I wanted to have a chance to do it with a man as well.
So, could you describe the Men and Girls dance? What happens in it? What is it about?
Well, they don't explain a lot about what it's about, but I think it's about how men and girls can be like friends without it being weird or just judged. It can just be fine with, because women and girls are always fine, and they can always just talk with each other without people just giving them looks or something. But with men and girls, everybody thinks it's just a bit wrong and it's not correct, when it actually is. It's fine.
I think that it's about how men and girls can bond through dance, and that men and girls can they can be friends just through dance, and even if they don't know each other, they can still be friends through dance and bond.
Can they be friends without dance?
Yeah, but I think it's mainly about being bonding through dance.
So, how would you describe the dance in this piece?
It's very, sometimes it can be a bit silly, but sometimes it can be very good. It's mostly the men who teach dance or who do lots of the carrying us and lifts, and it's just very enthusiastic, especially in one bit of the show which is called the Spaces dance.
I think the dance is very creative, and the girls sometimes make up some of it as well, and sometimes we improvise the dance on the stage. So I think it's really creative, and they let us be ourselves and do the kind of thing that we like to do through dance.
So did you? So you're talking about being yourself through dance. And did you talk with Sam and David about your? Did you have individual roles in the shows, in a sense?
Well, some bits we do, as in a pair or maybe a three. Sometimes you have a very good role when it's just you and maybe a man, but you probably either have 3 roles in the show to do everything, because they always want us to all be equal. Sam and David, yeah.
I think that we do have some roles, but normally we do stuff with the men. The girls do stuff with the men, so that we're all doing it together, and so that we all bond, and we're not like all doing separate sections, so that like it's mainly all together.
I watched the show yesterday and I enjoyed it a lot. But I did wonder a bit about all the newspaper on the stage. How would you interpret that?
Well, they didn't explain, but what I think it's because what people are thinking about us being like friends and what the public is saying. So I think they're using newspaper because that's the most public thing, except for the internet, but we can't really use that because it's not an object.
I think it's really fun having the newspaper, and it kind of, even when you're wrapped in newspaper, it allows you to kind of be yourself and dance through the newspaper. And I think that the newspaper helps bring us together because we all go underneath the newspaper and play together.
So you're saying it has 2 functions. One is that it represents the media and the rule for what men and girls can do, and at the same time it works as a tool for playing. So how do you think that children, what rules exist for children in society, and what rules exist for men? Can you say anything about that?
I think that the rules are that probably just a dad and a daughter can hold hands and hug each other, but any man and girl can't do any of that because they're not related, and that they think that they're trying to, be, rude about it and not nice, but actually it's just fine, and I don't think the rules are very fair because you can do that with any woman and any boy. It's not the same with women and boys. It's normally just men and girls. It's not really the same rules for older girls and younger boys. It's more just, yeah.
I think that the rules for men are they can't bond with a girl, and I think that people underestimate girls quite a lot, and but I think that they think that when we're with a man, they don't underestimate us so much, but in the show the men and the children are equal, and they don't underestimate anyone.
I noticed yesterday that the majority of the audience were women. Is that always like that?
We're not exactly allowed to look at the audience, except for when we're doing a bit called the improvisation, when it was a bit when we were all sitting or standing and looking at the audience or doing something else, which you probably saw. But it's probably normally the dads and the granddads who come and see it, and we don't really realise, but how you realised, it's probably saying something that it's just a bit weird how it's mostly women who are coming to see it.
When I'm looking at the audience and the bit that I'm allowed to, I don't really notice if it's more men or women in the show. I just think of everyone as the same, kind of. And I don't notice if it's more women or more men, but...
A bit more about the audience. How do you feel about the audience? How is it to perform in front of an audience? It's quite a big audience, I thought.
Yeah, it's quite, sometimes I'm not worried about what they're going to think about the whole meaning of the show, but I'm a bit just curious about what they think and about if they agree with it or if they don't. And then one of my friends in the girls said that if they didn't like the meaning, they wouldn't come and see it, but I don't think that's true. They would probably just want to know what we have to say or dance. So, yeah.
I think that the audience are normally really nice, and when you look at them, they smile a lot at you, and I don't think they judge you for what you're doing or what you look like or anything like that. I think they just enjoy the show and they respect the people that are in it.
I did, definitely. Yeah. And you were saying something, sorry, did you want to say some more?
Yeah, they normally clap a lot, and sometimes we do more bows than we're supposed to do, but I just think that's so nice of them to just really clap, and some of them sometimes stand up, and that's really cool.
How would you did I can't remember, did I ask already if the male dancers also had different roles or different characters in the play?
Yeah, they did, but sometimes they all dance together, and sometimes they just have different roles, and yeah.
I think that all the men are quite different, but they're all really funny, and in the show, if we're not dancing, they try to make us dance, and they quite often make us laugh.
Do they improvise a bit, surprising you on stage and
Yeah, but every night is different because of the improvisation, which is a bit that we do, and all the men do something different, of course, and so do the girls. So every night is different, but they all still have different roles.
I think that the men and the girls, when you're dancing with them, you really feel like you're part of a group, and they always include you, and you feel like you get really close when you're dancing together.
Well, I had one more question about the audience. If you have ever performed it for an audience of mostly other children and young people?
I think when I'm looking at them that it's mostly adults, and when it's children, they're mostly the younger ones. They're all smiling and they all want to join in, because my really close friends from school came to watch, and she really wanted to just be in it, and I think that's really good, because maybe next time we do it, she could be in it.
I think that the men, when they're just doing stuff like making stuff up to make us laugh, they really make the children in the audience laugh, and you can see that the children are really enjoying it.
Yeah, mostly it's adults, because we normally do it in the evening, and we finish at 8:30, and normally that's little children's bedtime, so they don't really come to see it a lot, because we always do it in the evening, except for today.
Okay, I have a son who's 10, but apart from him, I don't have so many other 10-year-old friends, and especially, and not boys either. I mean, it's not so common either for adult women to have friendly relationships with boys that, why do you think that is? That is, I mean, not particularly adult women, boys, but adults and children.
I think because everybody thinks when you get older you have to get so much mature. You have to always like wear like a tie, or if you're going out you have to wear makeup, but you don't. You can still be fun and play if you're an adult, like children do. Like, children don't really like to talk to adults because I think they think that they're just going to talk to them like babies, but I don't think normally they don't. So I think it's we as children just have to ask them to be our friends. We don't have to force it, but we just have to like not be afraid that they're just gonna like just ruffle our hair and just like treat us like babies, like give us a warm tub of milk and like feed us, but it's just not like that. They're like friends.
I think that, as Gabriela said, people expect you to be more mature when you're an adult, and they expect you to be friends with older people and not younger people, because younger people are a bit like, they're more energetic, and older people are like more mature and I think more sensible. So people always expect older people to be friends with older people, not like younger people.
Do you think that adults underestimate young people?
I don't know, because I think that adults are very kind and they're very helpful towards children. So I don't expect more from my mum and my dad or my grandparents. So I don't think other children do. Like, if you're quite spoiled and you don't thank your mum and dad for anything, that you should probably just think again and thank them, because if your parents didn't treat you very nicely, then you would, of course, expect more than they're giving you. But if they're still loving you and caring for you, but they're not giving you lots of food because, let's say, they didn't have a job or something, then I would still love them. I would just want a bit more, just not a lot, just a bit.
I think that some adults underestimate children, like if they don't have a child of their own, and like when they're older than the child, they think that they can control the child, and like they're higher up than the child, and they have rights to control a child, but they don't. And I think that some adults just underestimate some children.
Yes, it seems like some adults are surprised that this protest against climate and so have grown so strong, and it's coming from young people, for example. So do you think that young people can change the actions and thinking of adults?
Yeah, I think they probably could, and I think they can think about what they're going to be like as an adult, and they can still be like an adult, but not too much. Like, with all these like protests and stuff, if they want to, they can join in, but if I were me, well, I am me, but if I were all those children who are very obsessed with politics and lots of stuff, which that's fine, But for now, I'd focus on your life as a child, because soon you might forget it, because you're just focused on lots of important stuff, like jobs, but you don't have to think about your life beyond just yet. You can just
I think that children can change the way that things are now if they keep trying, and when they're older, they can act they can act how they wanted to be treated when they were smaller, and they could change the world just by treating people how they want to be treated.
Maybe a bit more about the process in the work itself. Were you told what to do, or did you develop parts of it yourself?
Well, in our first gathering, in our first rehearsal, we were just focused on becoming closer and becoming a company. And then as we got further into our rehearsal times, we started to focus on the show, and they just told us what to do, and they didn't give us any really instructions. They just said, like at the beginning when the audience were coming in, we were making a newspaper floor, and they just said, they just showed us how to put the newspapers together. Then they just said to just do it, and then we just practiced and just got better.
I don't think that they really tell us what to do. The children before us create some of it, and the first children that did the show created most of the show. And Sam and David, they didn't tell them what to do. They just created it and danced, made up the dances how they felt, and then Sam and David passed on those dances to us, and we changed them a bit and stuff.
Yeah, because once we were in a rehearsal, and like I said, there's a bit in the show which is called the Spaces dance, and they wanted to film us doing the dance, and I think that's because they wanted to show probably the next people who are going to do men and girls dance, because the men taught us all those dances, so I think they're going to show the new men, and then they're going to teach the new girls, and then it's just going to be like the same process as me and Brandy's and all the other girls.
I just think that the girls, when they were filming us doing our dances, they wanted to show, as Gabriela said, that the next girls that are going to do it, I think they wanted to show the girls how enthusiastic we were about it, and that the men taught us all of that, and together with the men we worked it out and made some changes, and that they can do that as well, and they're strong enough to do that.
Do you feel you have learned anything from being in this show? Like anything that, yeah.
I think that, that I said, my sister was in it. She grew much more confident, and because me and my sister aren't very, we're not very loud at school. We're quite, all of my friends say I'm quite wise and I'm quite nice, which is very kind of them. And sometimes as children you struggle to stand up for yourself, and I think it's going to help us be more confident and be more strong, because of course we were working on lifts, and at the beginning I had really never gone upside down before, and then eventually we were doing cartwheels in the air, and it was really cool, and I think that we're going to be much more confident about climbing and lots of other things to do with physical and probably mentally, like bullies or something, although we probably won't get bullied.
I think that from doing it, I learnt that men and girls can come together and it can be fun, and it's not like always like awkward and like we don't know what to say. And I think the show really taught me that it can be really, really fun, like having men as your friends and not just children all the time.
Yeah.
And that they can work together well.
Yeah, because when we were about to do the first show, I was extremely nervous because I thought that I was going to miss a cue or mess up because my sister was in it, because I thought that I had to reach the expectations of her, which is very, it's a very bad thing about her being in it before. But then a man called Nathan, he gave me a really good pep talk, and he talked about how he knew me a bit before, but we didn't really talk, and that now we're practically really like best friends, and that all of the men and the girls are good friends, and that like, yeah.
Well, what do you think they have learned from this project, the adults around it? Sam and David and the dancers?
Well, I think they've been really nice to us, and the men have done it before, and they don't really tell us what they've learned, but I think they've probably learned the same as us, that it's all right to be friends with each other, and that they've grown a lot stronger, and that we will probably all be very good friends for a long time.
When I did the show, I was really worried as well, and I thought that I was going to get something wrong and it wouldn't work out. But then Nathan, when he was doing a dance with me, he made funny faces at me and made me laugh and forget about like everything else. Like he just made me remember that if I miss something out, it doesn't matter, and we can just work on it more, and not everything has to be the same each show, and that like, yeah.
No, I just want to say that it was really fun, and that I hope they carry on for lots of more years and with Men and Girls Dance, and that it was like a really good experience.
I'm just going to say that I think that Men and Girls Dance is amazing, and like I hope that they go on for a long time and other girls have the same experience that we did, and get the same relationships that we've had with the men, and I hope that they really enjoy themselves while they're doing it like we did.
Yeah, thanks a lot.
Thank you.